Ram. It's my great joy to be here this morning and for these very special 3 days. All of you have been drawn here by the divine magnet of our blessed Guru's love and the added blessing of having our revered President, Swami Chidananda, with us, and for this opportunity to share some of our Divine Guru's teachings with you. All right, let's begin with a prayer. Open up your heart, close your eyes, think of a very inspiring moment or experience in your life when your heart was just bursting with divine love. Remember what that felt like. What did that love feel like? It's still there. It's still there. And then immerse your feeling, your consciousness in that divine love. And concentrate at the point between the eyebrows, the Kutastha center, as we pray. Heavenly Father, Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Bhagavan Krishna, Jesus Christ, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswar, our beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we bow to you all. Divine Guru Dev, bless our spiritual efforts that we become ever more receptive to your living presence, your guiding presence, your loving presence, right within us and around us, everywhere. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Is everyone still filled with inspiration from last night's satsang? And Swamiji himself said he shouldn't have to say anything because everything's in the new lessons. So where does that leave me? Well, I thought what I would do this morning, when I speak, I usually try to focus just on 1 or 2 or 3 thoughts or ideas drawn from Guruji's teachings that will not give you just inspiration or some intellectual understanding, but hopefully some spiritual tools that you can take with you and in your day-to-day sadhana help you practice Guruji's teachings. So this morning I focused, and I'll explain these as we go through, 3 main themes. And the first one is, and I'd like to read, all of you will recognize this as the first line from Guruji's autobiography of a yogi. Do you remember what it is? Remember the very first line? The characteristic features of Indian culture have long been a search for ultimate verities and the concomitant disciple-guru relationship. One sentence. And the entire purpose and message of the autobiography of a yogi and Guruji's teachings are encapsulated in that one sentence? What is it really saying? The characteristic features have long been a search for ultimate verities. What does that mean? It means, and Guruji said this specifically, and it's something that we should never forget, we should always remember, the purpose of life is to find God. The purpose of life is to find God. And we can understand that in our day-to-day activities and our challenges, our ups and downs in life. I'm told even the atheist, the person who claims they have no religious or spiritual beliefs, when they have a serious problem, they always cry, "Oh God." But if that belief that the purpose of life is to find God does not motivate every moment of your life, then you're missing the very purpose of life itself. The purpose of life is to find God. And the concomitant disciple-guru relationship. To do that, you need a guru. You need a divine guide. If we don't make up our minds, now all of you have come to Guruji's path. Many of you possibly are new, still studying the lessons. I think a good majority of you, hold up your hands if you've received Kriya initiation. See, the great majority of you have received Kriya Yoga initiation. You've accepted Paramahansa as your guru. You've committed to seeking God. To take this greatest blessing, in fact, that Guruji has given us, to have that understanding. How many people lead aimless lives? Aimless lives, even people of great success. And you look at the world today, many people of great success who have material success, intellectual success, have reached great heights. You find high percentage of alcoholism, drug addiction, divorce amongst those people. And the reason is they do not know that the purpose of life is to find God. And their energy is going out in all these other directions. But it can happen to us also. We can have an inner life, we can practice our techniques, we can practice our Kriya Yoga. But if we're not committed, if we have not made up our minds that the purpose of life is to find God, then we will not commit ourselves totally to our sadhana in the other aspects of our life. I've talked to devotees, and it's very sad, who may have been practicing techniques for years, but to some degree or other they're still caught up in the world. That doesn't mean we renounce the world, and I'll speak more about that. It might be a good practice for all of us, the first thing when we wake up in the morning, is to say, "Good morning, Lord. The purpose of life is to find God." Think about that, to remind ourselves every day. Now we're committed. We've accepted a true guru. We've placed our feet on the spiritual path. But to remind ourselves, the purpose of life is to find God. And consequently, if we truly believe that, truly believe it in our hearts and our souls, then every aspect of our lives should support that belief. All right? Everything we do, every act, every thought, every emotion, our deepest meditations, all should be committed to fulfilling the purpose of life. If it isn't, if it doesn't, it's taking us away from God. It's pulling our consciousness away from God. So I'd like us together, just for a short time, to affirm together. I'm going to repeat, the purpose of life is to find God. And after I speak, I want all of you to respond. Before we do that, close your eyes, interiorize your consciousness, and just think for a moment. How deep is your commitment to the purpose of life? How deep is your commitment to fulfilling the purpose of life? It must be very high or you wouldn't be sitting here. The very thought should stir a great sense of devotion and love for God. So repeat after me. The purpose of life is to find God. 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 Adi Shankaracharya, one of my favorite sayings, because it's so parallel and supports what Guruji has given us about life, how to fulfill the purpose of life. He said there are 3 things hard to obtain without God's grace and are the greatest of blessings. 3 things that are of the greatest blessings. The first, which may be a little surprising, is to be born as a human being. So far we're doing quite good, huh? We've got 1 out of 3. 1 out of 3. Why? Why? Because the human body has chakras, divine centers in the spine. And as we refine our consciousness and learn to raise our consciousness into the higher centers of awareness where only God can be perceived. And that's why the human body is so important. The other creatures don't have the chakras. They don't have that same opportunity. That's a divine blessing. The second is the desire to know truth, to attain liberation. We're doing quite well, aren't we? We've got number 1, we've got number 2. We wouldn't be sitting here if we didn't have some desire to know God, some desire to find God, some desire to understand the purpose of life. So we have those 2 blessings. And the last, and this ties in with that first line, that wonderful quote, the first line of the autobiography, to seek God and to be drawn to and accepted as a disciple by a true guru. So according to Adi Shankar, one of the greatest saints of India, renowned for his wisdom and his realization, stated that these are the greatest of blessings, and we have those 3 blessings. We have those 3 blessings. And just as we should remember every day the purpose of life, every day we should remind ourselves how blessed we really are. And this is important to us as seekers because we can come together and meditate together and pray together and share the great truths, the great teachings the soul-liberating teachings that Guruji has given us. But what happens when we go back out in the world, in our day-to-day life? How many here have no ups and downs? You're totally happy all the time, never have a problem. I don't see a single hand. Life is that way, isn't it? It's a struggle sometimes. It's a challenge. Often we might become discouraged, frustrated, even angry at God. Sometimes don't you just say, God, why are you doing this to me? I don't understand. You're supposed to be all love and understanding and patience. Why are you doing this to me? You ever feel that way? It's all right to feel that way. You should talk to God. I don't understand. But it happens, doesn't it? We have these challenges in life. And when we have those challenges, and some can be quite severe, major health problems, for example, that's just one. Financial problems. It's a long list that the world can throw at us. We need to understand that God did not create those situations. It was our karma. We created, and some people say God is testing me. Well, God won't test you. If He loves you, why would He test you? Think about that. God would not test you if He loves you, and He loves you. No doubt. No doubt. It's our karma. What we need to understand is this. To have these three blessings that Adi Shankar placed before mankind, to have been drawn to a Satguru, and not just a Satguru. Look, 4 divine avatars, and Christ and Krishna, who promised to guide us, to protect us through this life's journey. Paramahansa Yogananda promised that if we sincerely follow his teachings, we can find God in one lifetime. One lifetime. He made that promise to each one of us. Each one of us. He made that promise to each one of us. Think about that for a moment. That's Guruji's promise. That's how great he is. And he keeps that promise. Many devotees have found God and continue to find God following these teachings. It's a promise that our gurus can and do keep. To have such a blessing, to have been drawn to a path with divine gurus and the most powerful, most effective meditation, spiritual techniques ever given to mankind, the Kriya Yoga, means that each one of us is very near the top of the evolutionary ladder. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? There are people at the bottom maybe who have more like almost animalistic habits. And in between you see people developing intellectually, emotionally. Eventually they may reach a point where they begin to wonder what life is really all about. They may begin to read or study spiritual or religious teachings. They may begin some simple prayer or some mantra. And this cycle can go on for lifetimes until they begin to meditate. They begin to realize that the answers that they're seeking are within, not without. But it takes them lifetimes of meditation, of growing spiritually, of expanding their consciousness until they reach that point where they're ready where they're ready to accept a true guru, where they're ready to discipline their lives and follow a true guru. It means that you have passed through maybe thousands of lifetimes to reach the point that's brought you here, sitting here today. This is not a small accomplishment. This is not a small accomplishment. I think in the world now there's over 6 billion people. In India now it's, I think, 1.25 billion people. It's a lot, isn't it? How many are really truly seeking God? Very few. The Gita, the Bhagavad Gita. Out of 1,000, one seeks me. Out of 1,000 who seeks me, one may know me. One may know me as I really am. Think of that. And yet here we sit. Here we sit. And each one of us is in fact one of those 1 out of 1,000 who are seeking God. Each one of us. And each one of us have the opportunity in this lifetime to find God. We're right at the top of the evolutionary ladder. This could be our last lifetime. This could be our last lifetime. Why am I sharing this with you? There's nothing egotistical about realizing our spiritual stature, as long as it doesn't become egotistical, where we think, oh, I'm evolved. Oh, I'm spiritual. Not that. But to realize so that you feel really good about yourself. You should feel very good about yourself, regardless of the circumstances of life. Regardless of the circumstances of life. Why? You have the 3 great blessings. You have the Kriya Yoga. You have the promise of finding God in this lifetime. But it does not mean it's going to be easy. There will be the ups and downs. There will be challenges. Why? Because we're near the top. We have only a little bit of karma left. Only a little bit. And it may not all be good. That has to be worked out. And that's the challenges we face. Those are the challenges we face. They're not there to break our backs. They're not there to discourage us. They're not there to frustrate us. They're there to help us take the final steps in our evolution so that we are free to find God. You should feel good about yourself. Is that making sense? Sometimes we think, oh, I'm not progressing. Oh, I don't know that God really loves me. I don't know that Guruji's helping me. I get no response. I have all these problems. When that happens, you've forgotten that the purpose of life is what? To find God. You've forgotten. Don't forget. And accept. And we'll talk more about this acceptance. Feel good about yourself. Feel good about your spiritual efforts. You've traveled a long way to reach this point in your life. Don't waste it. You've traveled far. You've traveled lifetimes to be accepted by a true guru. So again, we're going to affirm together. We're going step by step. I have 3 steps for you. This is the second. Okay, we're going to affirm, so repeat after me. Close your eyes. Open up your heart. Focus at the Kutastha. And repeat after me. I am a child of God. made in His divine image. I am a child of God, made in His divine image. I am a child of God, made in His divine image. I am a child of God, made in His divine image. So never forget that. You're a child of God. You have been accepted by a true Guru. You have been accepted by a line of avatars. You have been promised that you can find God in one lifetime. These are fundamental. They're foundational. These are the building blocks that lead to our success. These are keys to our spiritual advancement. We should remind ourselves, we should affirm, purpose of life is to find God. I am a child of God. I have a right. If I'm a child of God, I have a right to know my father, my mother. I have a right. Don't forget. Next, I'd like to speak a little about the scientific nature of our path. Guruji talks about this being the scientific way to God. And that makes sense, doesn't it? When we look at the Kriya Yoga techniques, step by step, procedures, techniques, learning how to recharge the body, concentrate the mind, interiorize the mind, begin to control the life force, working in the spine to create a magnet that withdraws the energy from the sense perceptions into the higher chakras and eventually to the spiritual eye, where we can perceive God as bliss and light, experience the divine Om vibration, feel that all-satisfying love in our hearts. It's step by step. It's step by step. It's very clearly defined. And Guruji speaks, and we know that basically we're following Patanjali's Astanga Yoga, the 8 steps of Patanjali, which are the yams, niyams, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. 8 steps. If you look at those 8 steps, you'll see that yam niyam are distinctly different than the other 6. Because once you go to the 3rd step, asana, what are you doing? What are we doing? All outward motion, all outward attention, all thoughts of the world are placed aside, and we consciously go within. Isn't that true? 6 of those steps are internal. They're inside. Yama niyam are quite different, aren't they? They have to do with our day-to-day life. We may be able to meditate only 1 hour per day, 2 hours per day, 3 hours per day or more for those who are blessed with the time and the ability, the willpower to meditate more. But what about all the hours when we have to work and serve, take care of our family responsibilities, our business responsibilities, maybe our social responsibilities, the health of the body, the care of the body? That's all external, isn't it? It's all external. And if we look closely, you'll see within the yam and the yams are what Guruji called how to live teachings. Swami Shri Yukteswar told Guruji, learn to behave. Learn to behave. That indicates action, doesn't it? Outward. You'll find that almost every aspect of Guruji's teachings can be equated, can be linked to yama and niyama. These are the how to live teachings, the lessons, how to conduct our daily lives. We have the meditation techniques. We have the means to go within. We have the means to begin to contact that Divine One, to experience that joy, that love, that wisdom, that bliss of God. We're given that tool. Swami Chidanandaji was talking last night and gave some very good examples of the importance of taking that energy, that Om vibration, of taking that divine awareness into our daily lives, not to lose it. For those who don't know, we often talk about devotion, and there are many, not us Kriyabans necessarily, but they separate devotion from the science of yoga. The science of yoga and devotion. The science of yoga and devotion. Have you ever thought that way? Do they seem maybe separate a little bit? Where do they fit in to the science of yoga? It's important, it's vital to understand this. Swami Shri Yukteswar, in the Holy Science, very, very important statement. By the practice of yam and niyam, the 8 meannesses of the human heart disappear and virtue arises. Man thus becomes a sadhaka, a true disciple, fit to attain salvation. What does that mean? It means that this purification, this opening up the heart and the soul to the presence of God, at least in the beginning, is based upon deep practice of yama niyam, that there's a purification process that takes place. And it's only through that purification, the first 2 steps, remember there's 8 steps, it's through these first 2 steps that we prepare ourselves for the other 6. Now the good news is we're not all starting with the yam and niyams. Remember I told us we should feel good about ourselves. We should have confidence in our spiritual practices, because for lifetimes we've probably all, in fact without any doubt, we have all practiced the yam niyams for lifetimes. For lifetimes. And much of that purification, much of that preparation for the next 6 steps has already taken place. Or we would not have been drawn to this guru, we would have not been drawn to Kriya Yoga. We were ready for the next 6 steps. But getting back to my point, the yamas, ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, agragrapha, the niyams, satya, santosha, tapas, swadhyaya, and what is the last one? Ishvara pranidhan. Many gurus, many philosophers, many teachers of Indian philosophy translate this Ishvara pranidhana into surrender. Surrender. Now, surrender to many has a connotation. They interpret this to mean giving up something. An army, when it's defeated, surrenders. Or, I surrender my willpower. There's a sense of giving up something, of losing something. How did Guruji interpret Ishwara Pranidhan, devotion to God. Devotion to God. There it is. Devotion to God is part of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. It's one of the essential, necessary building blocks of our spiritual life. It's there in the very beginning, devotion. It begins with devotion. We may not truly understand what devotion is. It may be that we've not opened up our hearts enough to feel that divine love where there's an automatic outpouring of true devotion, not emotion, true devotion. But we need to understand that devotion to God is one of the key building blocks of our spiritual life. I have a quote here. For many years I was blessed to serve with Sri Sri Dayamata, before Mriti Mata, the president of Yagoda Satsanga Self-Realization Fellowship. And on her desk, she had a little quote that I always appreciated. I'd like to share it with you. And this is what it said. This is her words. Every day, I read something from Guruji's spiritual diary and recently noted the following quote, which I would like to share with you. This is the quote. Again and again I cried and prayed, day and night, and when nothing any longer meant anything to me, when inside I renounced everything, surrender, renounce, surrender, there it is. Then he came to me. And then she went on. To me, that is the most beautiful quote. Here, Guru Dev refers to what Lord Krishna said centuries ago, get away from my ocean of delusion. Get away from my ocean of delusion. Be in the world, but not of it. Be in the world, but not of it. That is devotion. You've realized that the purpose of life is to find God. And your guru has given you the method, the teachings, the techniques, the guidance to practice this every moment of your life, every moment of your life. And that is how we fulfill the purpose of life. Ishwara Pranidhan. It's right there. I'll give you a few examples as we go on. But basically the spiritual devotion means, the surrender means and we actually promised this for those who receive Kriya Yoga, to place our lives into the hands of the Guru. Lay our lives at the feet of the Guru, of that Divine One who's walked the path, who's realized God, and whom God sent back to help us step by step walk that path. What greater way to honor someone, what greater way to respect someone, what greater way to love someone than want to follow them or to be like them or to accept, to realize that they know more than we do and to place our lives in their hands. That's devotion. That's this Ishwara Pranidhan. This moment by moment of giving, of giving, of giving to the Guru. What are we giving? Okay, we meditate in the morning, I'll come right down to the practical, everyday level. Enough philosophy. We practice our energization, we practice our Hong Sa, we practiced our Om technique, we practiced our Kriya, we prayed to God and Guru. We've received some result. I don't think anyone does not receive something. It might be just calmness. In the beginning especially. But as we progress, I know many of you here who've been on Guruji's path, sincerely practicing for possibly decades, know that God is real, that God can be contacted, that there is divine love in your heart, that there is joy in your soul. You know this. You know this. But often when we go out into the world and we are confronted with these challenges, what happens? We get caught up, isn't it? We get caught up. The ego gets involved. The senses get involved. We might start to think, as I said earlier, why is God letting this happen? Why is Guruji letting this happen? He said he would protect me. He said he loves me. Why does it happen? It's karma. But it's more than that. It's more than that. These experiences are like a mirror. They're like a mirror. Every moment, think of this, every moment of your life is the next step in your spiritual unfoldment. Every moment is the next step in your spiritual unfoldment. What does that mean? You've meditated, you're feeling some peace, you're feeling some joy, you're feeling some love, and something happens and you lose it. All right? You lose it. Why? What happens? Your consciousness is drawn into the emotions. Your consciousness is drawn into the senses. Instead of remaining within, focused on God. So what do? That's not what Krishna is saying. That's not what Guruji is saying. Get away from my ocean of delusion. That means, again, this is scientific. Get away from my ocean of delusion. Get away from sense perception. Get away from sense perception. Get away from identifying with this body. Remember that the purpose of life is to find God. And we can do this. We can support this. We can reinforce the results of our meditations and draw closer to God beyond our meditative efforts by practicing this deeper form of meditation, this Ishvara Pranidhana. We have everything we need to know to find God in these teachings. If not, how could Guruji make the promise that I'll lead you to God in one lifetime if he doesn't give you everything you need to know? It's there. We don't need to be reading other books. It doesn't mean you don't. But if you get distracted, if your energy starts going in different directions, then your efforts are being diluted. 100% devotion, 100% devotion, 100% loyalty. Guruji said about Sri Yukteswar, 1,000% loyalty, not 100, 1,000% loyalty to his Guru. It's all here in his teachings. So, how do we practice this devotion, this scientific devotion, this Ishvara Pranidhana? Well, I've taken this list from Guruji's Whispers from Eternity. And it's amazing to see how Guruji has woven thinking about God into every activity of our lives. In Whisper from Eternity, there's a prayer at dawn. You get up in the morning, you pray. Prayer at noon. Prayer at eventide. Prayer at night. Prayer before meditation. Prayer after meditation. Prayer before taking food. Prayer for peace. Prayer for the supply of immediate needs. Prayer for loyalty. Prayer of my heart. And when we use these prayers that Guruji has given us, we're doing two things. We're focusing our minds on God. We're turning everyday common activities into spiritual activities. Our consciousness is going in, not out. Going in. We're better able to hang on to the results of our meditations. We remain more aware, more conscious of that divine. These are just examples. There's many, many. You'll see the term in the lesson, spiritualizing your life. This is how you do it. And more than that, as Revered Swamiji was sharing last night, Guruji's words in Avatar, one with God, these are not ordinary words. They're not ordinary words. They don't just feed the intellect. They're saturated with the divine vibration of God. They're saturated with the Om vibration. So these are opportunities during the day when we're performing normal activities to just stop for a minute and repeat these prayers. Bring that vibration back into our life. Bring that vibration into the common realities of our day-to-day life. You're spiritualizing your life. You're bringing God into that moment by moment. Cosmic chants. There's also this practice of scientific devotion. For one thing, Guruji spiritualized these chants. In chanting each of these, he went into that divine state of samadhi. Each of these chants is saturated with that vibration. If we too concentrate deeply and repeat them over and over and over with deepest feeling and with thought, not just feeling, with thought, trying to tune in to the experience that Guruji experienced. They're not just singing. I remember when I first came to the spiritual path as a monastic, I lived in our Dakineshwar ashram with one Swami Bolananda. He's a senior monk who now lives in Mother Center. And I didn't come from an environment, I didn't come from a background where chanting was any part of my life. I thought, oh, chanting. I had no experience. I didn't know. And Swami Bolananda loved chanting. Loved it. Every day, chanting. I would sit there and chant, all right. Chanting's all right. And often I would have to go into Calcutta on errands. We lived in Dakineshwar, north of Calcutta. Crowded, noisy, smoke, pollution, all kinds of distractions. Hot, perspiring. But gradually I began to see, as time would go by and the weeks would go by, there was something going on in the background of my mind. I'd stop and, what is that? Door of my heart, open wide, I keep for thee. It was a chant. And even though I hadn't put my heart and soul into it 100%, the power of just sitting there, and at that point in time, doing it mechanically, had planted seeds in my consciousness that began to sprout. It wasn't a conscious effort. It was Guruji calling me, wake up. I'm here waiting for you, wake up. Why are you worried about the pollution and the smoke? Why don't you come and let's talk to God together. Let's sing to God. He was talking to me. And then I realized the power of those chants, and now I cannot live without them. I cannot live without cosmic chants. It's such a beautiful, beautiful way to commune with God, and such a beautiful way to deepen your spiritual life. Devotion from the heart. Ishwara Pranidhana. It's a scientific approach to God, but it's the approach of the heart. This is one of my favorites. You're going to like this, I think. Learn to see God in others. I could see God in Sri Sri Dayamata. I could see God in Sri Sri Mlini Mata and others around me, so many. I can see God in all of you. Twinkles in your eye, sweet little smile, bright, energetic faces. You can see God. It's easy, huh? But what about that person that just rubs you the wrong way every day? Never agrees with you, always arguing with you. The boss who's always bossing. The wife or the husband who are always nagging. Or the person that you just can't like. You know, there are people like that. They're just so obnoxious, I'm sorry to say. You just can't see any good in them at all. Did you ever know anyone like that? Hold up your hand if you never knew anyone like that. Say again, no hands. Boy, this is a tough one, isn't it? How do you see God in other people? How do you do that? Huh? Well, again, you have to spiritualize that experience. You have to spiritualize it. You have to look beyond what the senses are telling you. You have to look beyond what your emotions are telling you. You have to look beyond that your mind is telling you, this person, I can't see God in this person. The mind, I can't see God. That's the mind telling you, I cannot see God in that person. But maybe you can see yourself. This is how you begin to see God in others. Take the person, the one person in the whole world that you do not want to spend 1 minute with, even 1 minute. You don't want to spend even 1 minute. Take that person and say, thank you, God, for sending this person to me. Thank you for sending this person to me because it gives me the opportunity to love even this person. That I believe, even if I can't see you, I know you're hiding in this person. And I will pray for them. I will pray for them. You see this? See what happens? This is the devotion. This is the Ishwari Pranidhan. This is the Niyam, the spiritual way, the scientific way, the devotional way, the way of the heart. That person may never change. You can't expect them to change. Your relationship with them may never change. And in fact, you probably don't want to spend time with them. But do you see the difference? You see the difference? You can see God even in those people, even mean people, even people who are nasty, people who are crude. I'm going to the lowest levels because we do contact people like this, occasionally at least, in our lives. You can spiritualize it. Another thing, and this is very interesting. Guruji said, if there's something upsetting in other people, we recognize that because we have a seed of that same quality in ourselves. We have a seed of that same quality in ourselves. Maybe from the past, it may not be strong, it may not influence our lives at all, it may not manifest at all, but somewhere in our consciousness, there's still a karmic seed. And so we can also pray, Lord, If I have any of these qualities, please help me. Purify my mind. It's another way to turn what can be almost repulsive into an opportunity to go within and pray or ask for guidance, to look for God in that experience. Look beyond the personality. God is giving you an opportunity. That's where God is. God is in the opportunity. And that person is just God's channel. Does that make sense? It's a new way of looking at life, isn't it? That's how we spiritualize our lives. It's fun. It just turns your life completely around. I'll just share a little. The monks, we were talking last night. I've been traveling. We stopped in Europe before we came here, and I was walking around the airport, up and down, waiting for the plane to get a little exercise before sitting for many hours. And it reminds me, especially sitting here looking at all of you, the bright spiritual faces, people that look sad or unhappy and long face. And so Guruji used to do this, and I thought, I'm going to walk around smiling and see if I can get people to smile. But you know what happened? They would see me, they would get out of the way because they thought I was odd. How can this person be so happy? But look for the good in those people and pray for them because they don't have our blessings. They don't have the opportunities. Pray for them. Each one of those is an opportunity. Each sad face, each unsmiling face is God giving you an opportunity to think of Him. This works another way. Were you able to see any of God's qualities in Swami Chidananji last evening? The joy, the devotion, the love that he expresses, isn't that inspiring to you? Doesn't that encourage you to want more joy, to want more love, to be like that? That wasn't Swami Chidananda, that was Guruji. Again, like a mirror, placing that before you to encourage you to want to be more like that. That was God, talking just to you. This is how we see God in other people. These are little ways. There's so many. Now, just a quick little story. Some years ago, a long-time devotee with two small children, two little girls, that were going to the Sunday school, the children's spiritual classes in one of our temples in California. Every Sunday morning, listening to Guruji's teachings, how to behave, how to live a spiritual life. And the children and the mother were out in a train station one day, and after buying the ticket, the devotee remembered she paid, and she laid her wallet on top of the suitcase to do something with the ticket. And when she looked, the wallet was gone. It was gone. Someone stole the wallet. And she said, "Oh God." And the little girl said, "Mother, aren't you supposed to say Jai Guru?" Within 1 minute, a lady walked up and she said, "I saw this man steal your wallet, and I confronted him, and he was so ashamed he gave it. Here is your wallet." See the difference? Bring God into your life. Spiritualize those moments. It helps. If you're in tune, God will help you. One of the sweetest things, I think it's in Guruji's vocal recording called Awake in the Cosmic Dream. And he's talking about talking to God and being devoted to God. And you can tell by the tone of his voice that his heart is just bursting with love. And he says, and He will talk to you. God will talk to you. He will talk to you. How sweet that is. And that's the experience that we can all have when you're practicing this level of devotion, that every moment of your life is an opportunity to spiritualize your life. And even in the hardest times, when you're tested and life is difficult, don't give up. Keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on. Maybe that's your last little piece of karma. Remember that you've spent lifetimes seeking God, lifetimes, to reach this point. And know for certain that Guruji will never test you. Guruji will never allow any circumstance in life beyond your ability to endure. Never. Never. He's there to protect you, but at the same time, He will let you have these experiences to burn out that karma so that once and for all, you can be free. And there's no way to measure this, but I know, beyond any doubt, I know that we think we're having a bad experience. But just imagine if you didn't have Guruji, who's probably taking some of your karma. We always look at what we don't have because we can't measure what we do have. Meaning, Guruji's always there. He takes our karma. He helps us through those situations. He's always quietly behind the scenes, always helping. And everything that happens for us, even those experiences, just like the person looking for God in other people, look for God even in those experiences that may seem almost unbearable. Look for God's hand behind it. There's a very beautiful chapter, I think it's chapter 12, in Sister Gyanamata's God Alone, about suffering as a way to God. Beautiful, beautiful. How she used her relationship and how she used her attunement with Guruji to spiritualize the painful experiences that she was having. And she was in pain all the time. She was never without pain for years. Years. But she used those opportunities because behind the suffering, behind the pain, she saw God's hand. One more. This is from Dayamata. For me, the easiest way to receive response from God is to inwardly call to Him with all my heart, my love, my love. You must go on saying it. Even at first, you do not feel it. One day, if you really mean it, and say, my God, my Lord, my Lord, my life is for you, only for you. I don't need anything else. I need only you. He will respond. So one more affirmation. We affirmed the purpose of life is to find God. We affirmed that we're children of God that have been accepted by a true Guru, that our efforts and our karma and the blessings and the grace of God have brought us to this moment in our life where we have the opportunity to find God in one life. We affirm that. I am a child of God. And now we're going to affirm, again, close your eyes. Open up your heart to the deep feeling of love and devotion for God and Guru, a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity that we all have, and repeat after me. Teach me to think of Thee until Thou dost become my only thought. Teach me to think of Thee until Thou dost become my only thought. Teach me to think of Thee until thou dost become my only thought. I hope these little examples I've given about how to bring God into the moments of your life have helped. These are only small and a very few number of examples. Guruji's teachings are full of these. Full. Little spiritual tools that you can use. Spiritual tools that will help you spiritualize every possible situation that you can confront in life. The answer is there. The answer is there. And maybe one of the most important ones of this devotional effort is study. Study Guruji's teachings. They're not just words. Swamiji, Chidananji mentioned last night, they're not. They're saturated with that vibration of the divine. They're saturated. And when you're studying, those vibrations are being absorbed by your consciousness. And the more you study, but not just study, the more you study and apply those teachings, the more you will find that you're opening up that inner channel, that direct link with the Guru, so that he can talk to you in these moments of your life. Think about this. You have an autobiography of a yogi, you have a Bhagavad Gita commentary, you've got a Second Coming commentary, you've got Man's Eternal Quest, all these books of Guruji's teachings, isn't it? How many of you can carry those around with you every day? Huh? And every time you have a problem, you're looking. You can't do that, can you? It's impossible. Why did Guruji give us all of this? Because each one of us has different problems at different times. So when we study, we have to pick and choose which has meaning to us, more meaning, and put that into our consciousness. Then you'll find that when situations arise, the answer is there. Or if you're in a situation, you go inside and you pray and you ask Guruji for the answer. And you'll find that often the answer will in fact come from your conscious library, where you've placed these thoughts, where you've placed this guidance. But that process will eventually lead you beyond the words that you've studied. And through your intuition, through your developed intuition, you will have direct contact with God, and God will guide you every moment of your life. That's what we want. I'd like to close with these words of Guruji, if I may. I invite you to close your eyes, and again with the deepest devotion and love that you feel for your blessed Guru, our blessed Gurus. Visualize Guruji at the spiritual eye and feel through these words, through Guruji's words, that he's speaking. To each one of us. I come to tell you all of him and the way to encase him in your bosom, and of the discipline that brings his grace. Those of you who have asked me to guide you to my beloved's presence, I warn you through my silently talking mind, or speak to you through a gentle, significant glance, or whisper to you through my love, or loudly dissuade you when you stray away from him. But when I shall become only a memory, or a mental image, or silently speaking voice, when no earthly call will ever reveal my whereabouts in unplumbed space, when no shallow entreaty or stern stentorian command will bring from me an answer, I will smile in your mind when you are right, and when you are wrong, I will weep through my eyes, dimly peering at you in the dark, and weep through your eyes, perchance. And I will whisper to you through your conscience, and I will reason with you through your reason, and I will love all through your love. When you are no longer able to talk to me, read my whispers from eternity. Eternally through it, I will talk to you. Unknown, I will walk by your side and guard you with invisible arms. And as soon as you know my beloved and hear his voice in silence, you will know me again more tangibly than you knew me on this earth plane. And yet, when I am only a dream to you, I will come to remind you that you too are not but a dream of my heavenly beloved. And when you know you are a dream, as I know now, we will ever be awake in him. Heavenly Father, Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Bhagavan Krishna, Jesus Christ, Avatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswar, our Divine Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we bow to you all. Divine Gurudev, from joy we have come, in joy we live, move and have our beings, and one day, in that blessed joy, we shall melt again. Thou art ever new joy, that art that joy, born of meditation. Thou art that joy which we seek and live for. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.